case you didn't know, a bunion occurs where the big toe gets pushed across the other toes of the foot. This compromises the knuckle of that joint's ability to move. It also opens up the inside of the joint, it puts it under more strain and can lead to wear and tear and calcification, which is where extra bone grows along the inside of the joint. People can have a family history of bunions, but just because your grandparents and parents have suffered with them doesn't mean that you're going to as well. Our feet will adapt to the shape of the shoe that we put on them. So if you're wearing a narrower, pointier shoe, your feet over time will gradually adopt that shape as well. And that's why the big toe can gradually start to lean over towards the others. In order to prevent bunions occurring in the first place, you want to wear a wider fitting shoe that more closely matches the shape of your foot. Having a more widely fitted shoe not only means that your toes can fit in the space in the shape of your foot, it also means that these toes can move, which means that you get the strength in the toe, which also stops any deviation of the shape. Insoles, orthotics and arch supports, they can all have a really useful role to play. If someone has a long-term condition, which means that they can't engage the muscles in their foot or they can't move the joints in their foot properly, they can be a long-term solution to a long-term problem. However, they shouldn't be used as a long-term solution to a short-term problem. If you fracture your arm, you put a plaster cast on and that supports the arm while the bone repairs. If you leave that cast on indefinitely, you start to get wasting of the muscles and you start to lose strength in it. The same happens if you have an orthotic in your shoe for too long. The orthotic supports the arch, it supports what's called the transverse arch across the foot, and it also supports the heel. You've got muscles in your foot and in your lower leg that are supposed to do all of those things. And if those muscles are switched off in the foot, they also switch off in the calf, in the thigh, in the bum and in the back. So not only are you making your feet weaker, you're making the rest of your body weaker as well. There are many factors that contribute to the formation of back pain, and our footwear can certainly be one of those. Our bodies are really good at adapting to the stresses and strains that we place upon it every day, but the more stresses and strains that we place upon it, the less resilient it becomes to new ones that come along. Most people will walk around in a pair of shoes like this every day. If we look at the shape of this shoe and the shape of our foot, those two things don't match. If we look at the shape of our toes, they're generally wider than the toe box of a normal shoe. That means that when we put the shoes on, our toes are compressed and we can no longer move them properly. If we look at the shape of the heel, generally in a normal shoe, the heel is lifted, which means that the forces are pushed down the foot into those compressed toes, which then can't deal with that extra force. We also tend to have an arch support. Arch supports take the weight off of those muscles, which means that those muscles get weaker and they get less able to deal with the shocks that come through the foot. All of those stresses and strains that should have been dealt with by the foot are then being sent up the body into the legs, the bum and the low back, all because your feet aren't doing their job properly. You'd have thought after a couple of 100,000 years of running, we as a species would have got quite good at it. But there's a problem. The shoes that we wear when we go for a run are designed to support and protect our feet. And by doing so, they encourage us to run in a way that can lead to more injuries. Plantar fasciitis and ankle strains, knee injuries and runner's hip, they can all be traced back to the footwear that we wear. The solution can be a little bit more complicated. Changing your footwear can help, but changing the way you run is much more important in the long term. When you've been running in supportive shoes for a long time, you've developed habits that can be harder to break. The first step is to take your shoes and socks off and feel the ground. Wake up those muscles, wake up those nerves, and gradually build on from there.